And welcome back. In this lecture, we'll look at the following built-in string methods: left justified, right justified, left strip, right strip, and length functions. Let's start by creating a string, and we'll save it in a variable called ss. Let's say today is a great day. So let's start by looking at the left justified ljust method. This method returns the string left justified in our string of a given length. So let me show you how we can use this. So we have our string ss dot ljust, and then we provide what length we want. Let's say a length of 40 characters, and then if we just leave it like this, the default value will be an empty space. So when we run this, let me run it and show you the result. So you see here, today is a great day, and we have this many empty spaces and then the end of our string quotation. So this is left justifies. The method returned our string ss left justified in a string of the given length 40. So this is left justified. So if we leave it like this, it will fill the remaining spaces with empty space. So from the beginning to the end of the string this, it's 40 characters wide. The width of the string is 40 characters. And then let's say if this part is 20 characters, it fills the remaining space with empty space. So this is left justified. We can also specify what to fill this empty space with. For instance, we can fill it with any character that we want. Let's say if we want to fill it with the element u or the letter u, we can do that. And then now if we run it, instead of empty space, we have u. Similarly, we can fill it with, let's say, an exclamation mark. We can do that. Let's run it and see. So 40 characters, and then fill the remaining space with exclamation. So we have that. ss.ljust, let's say 25, and then fill the remaining with, let's say, greater than symbol, and so on. So it will do that. What if the length of the length of the string we specify here is less than the actual string length? For instance, what if I say ss.ljust, then we pass, let's say, 8. So in this case, my original string is more than, the length is more than 8 characters. So if we pass this, we only get our original string, nothing else. Great. Similar to the ljust method, there is a method called rjust, right justified. Okay, rjust. This basically returns the string right justified in a string of the given length. So let's look at our ss string. Now let's see the right just method. So if we say ss that right just, if we call the right justified method on our string ss and pass, let's say, 50, so this will give us a string with a total width of 50 characters, and then it will fill all the spaces on the left with by default this is empty space, so it will fill it with white spaces. You see here the white spaces are at the beginning now. You see that? Similarly, we can fill it with any other character also. Let's say 50, and then fill it with, let's say, V, and then run it. So we get V. Today is a great day. Next, let's look at the length function. The length function will return length of a given string. So for instance, in our string SS, if we say length and then pass our string SS, we get 21. So that's the length of our string SS. We can simply also pass length and then say, how long is this string? And then run it. We get the length 24. How about length of this? 1. Even if it's an empty space, remember length is 1. So that's the length function. Length of Python world. Length is 12. Great. Next, let's look at L strip and then R strip. So the L strip method will remove all the characters from the beginning of our string. By default, it removes empty white spaces. Let's look at an example. Let's create another string and save it in SS. Let's have few more spaces and say this is a string, and then if we call our string SS, notice here we have few white spaces at the beginning. Now we'll call the L strip method. So ss.lstrip, and then it will remove all the empty white spaces from the beginning of the string. Let's run it. Remember, by default, it removes empty spaces from our string. Let's look at another example. Let's say if we call our SS, okay, we looked at that. Let's create another string SS and set it to be equal to, this is a nice day. And let's use our write just method, and then let's say 40, and then add, let's say, V at the beginning. So if we run this, we have V. This is a nice day. So I'll save that in a variable called left. So now if I call my string left, we get V. This is a nice day. So now what we'll do is we'll call the left strip method on the string and remove all the V's. Remember, by default the left strip method removes empty white spaces. We can also pass any character or specific character, and that character will be removed. So let's call the left strip method, and then what do we want to remove? We want to remove the character or element V. So let's do that and run it. Now we have the string, this is a nice day. Okay, similar to the left strip, there's another method called R strip for right strip. So this method will return a string where all the characters are removed from the end of the string. By default, it removes empty white spaces. Let's look at an example. Okay, let's say we have a string and save it in a variable ss. This is another string, and let's have a bunch of white spaces. Okay, let's run it. If we call our string ss, we have this is another string and a bunch of white spaces. Now we can call the rstrip method and then remove all these white spaces from the end of the string. Okay, by default it removes all the empty strings. Next, let's create another string and then add some values at the end. So ss dot left just, and then let's add 5 for instance, and let's specify the length to 39, and we'll save this in a variable called right. Now if I call the object right, we get this is another string and then a bunch of empty spaces and then 5. So what we'll do next is we'll take our right object or string and then call the right strip method, and then we pass what do we want to remove. So if we leave it by default, it will remove this white spaces, but I want to remove all these 5s. So I pass 5 as an argument in my right strip method, and then if we run it, now we have this is another string and then empty spaces. Now I can save this in another variable called, let's say, right2. Now if I call my right2 object, I have that, and we can call the right strip method strip, and then since by default it removes empty spaces, we don't have to pass anything. If we run that, we get a nice string. So that's the rstrip method. Let's look at one more method. I want to show you the count method. So the count method will return how many times that element exists in a given string. For instance, so we have our, let's create another string. ss is equal to, this is a string. Let's run it. We have ss, this is a string, so we can say ss dot count and then pass, let's say if we want to find out how many times s appears in our string, we can simply say ss dot count and then pass s. It says 3, so s appears 3 times in our string. Similarly, we can say ss dot count, let's pass an empty space, an empty white space, so that should also return 1, 2, 3, since we have 3 empty spaces. So we can use the count method to find out how many times a given element exists in a string. Similarly, we can say, if I say, let's say ss.count w doesn't exist in my string at all, so this will give us 0. Great. To summarize, we looked at a few built-in string methods like the length built-in function or method. We looked at the count method. We looked at the ljustified and rightJustified, and we also looked at the rstrip and leftstrip methods. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.